the lower and upper houses of parliament respectively. And on today's edition of the program Matters, we shall be looking at the November session of parliament that has gone underway and what the stakes are, what Cameroonians should be looking forward to. We understand the November session of parliament is predominantly dedicated to issues of the finance law and the budget for the ensuing financial year. But then we shall be having a general overview of how Cameroon's National Assembly and the Senate have been faring as far as fulfilling their roles of enacting legislation is concerned, as well as holding the executive arm of government to account. These are regalian functions of the National Assembly. We shall be looking at these major issues and, of course, the stakes in the November session of Parliament that has gone underway. For presentation, my name is Joseph Weno, and we are joined by our regular resource persons who are giving us the opportunity to get into their rich reservoir of experience for the edification of the televiewers. Do not forget that you can follow us on YouTube as well as on Facebook at High TV Cameroon, and we're also leaving our number on the base of the screen so that in the course of our conversation you may want to make a remark or a question. Whatever contribution you want to make, you keep it short and simple. Send it across to us either via regular text messages or you drop the message to us on WhatsApp, and we will try to react to it as we carry on with the deliberations. We have regular resource persons who are with us on the program today. We have the civil society actor and human rights advocate, Mr. Kikeshi Kenneth. Thank you for joining us on today's edition of the program.
Thank you, Joe, and good afternoon to all the televiewers of ITV. We are here as usual to chip in our own little contributions in the development and growth of this nation.
All right, and it's always a pleasure to have you. On the other side of the panel, we have a regular resource person. Maybe people do not know that you're a philosopher, or is there a difference between a teacher of the field and the field itself? But I suppose you are indeed a philosopher. But then you're more popularly known as a social commentator and promoter of the concept Unamumudondu on the social media platforms. Mr. Sama Abang Mugwa, it's always a pleasure to have you on the panel of Matters. Thank you for honoring the invitation today.
It's my pleasure once again, Joe. Greetings to Kenneth on the other side. Greetings to Claudine on the machines. Greetings to the entire High TV house. I'm just an ordinary teacher of philosophy. Without abrogating to myself the title of being a philosopher.
But when one listens to your analysis and the concepts that you hold, your perception to certain issues of society, if I were to go back to the issues of democracy, especially that which is indigenously African, I felt like you have a philosophical view of what democracy in Africa should be.
Thank you for that high point. I feel elated if you see me that way. But again, as I said, I am just a modest teacher of philosophy to young minds at the high school. I reflect, I comment, I analyze, and I criticize.
All right.
It's on the basis of my critical approach to issues that we founded the movement of Unamumudondu, which is not different from what has been developed in the French-speaking educational part of this country, OTS, on a true supportee. So it's like we have had enough is enough, and this nonsense must stop. That's the basis of Unamumudondu, from where we are able to critically call to order those who are in positions of authority and misuse that authority.
All right. Before we get to looking at what the papers are saying today, we're going to bring a novelty on the program, which is to sample the opinion of the panelists as to what has struck them, particularly in the news. It is true it is just Monday, but of course so much also happens in the course of the weekend, or some other issues that are reported in the news. And that's where I'll begin with Mr. Kikeshi Kenneth to find out from you. So many things make it through the news gates, and different media outlets report different issues, even though there is an agenda setting function where at times you look at the newspapers, you seem to see a common theme that runs across them. Let me just find out from you, what has struck you particularly these days as far as the news is concerned?
There's a caption on one newspaper about Cabral Libi, Honorable Cabral Libi, asking for Tasson to be audited.
Okay.
That is the presidential.
Yeah, he used to be the chairperson of the presidential plan for the reconstruction of the Northwest and Southwest regions.
He said that 11 billions were already used, and that they should hold him to book to justify. They should audit him to be sure that he has used that. And since we are talking today about the parliament, it caught my attention because it seems like it's news. Then I asked myself, why is it news? It's news simply because we have not had the parliamentarian playing that role of holding our duty bearers to account for monies they use. So that is why it is news. But it's supposed to be a normalcy that the members of assembly, either the upper house or the lower house, ask for government ministers or whoever in position of who is a voter order to justify, to be audited, to be sure that that they are role in accountability and good governance. So that it is news to me.
All right. I'm sure we are going to be returning to that in a moment, as we are going to be looking at some of the regalian functions of the parliament in Cameroon, that of holding government to account, especially as they are currently sitting for the November session of parliament. And we know, of course, that the number of persons who are opinion leaders in the country have questioned why the parliament has not, of course, set up commissions of inquiry, which falls within the ambit of their powers to do in certain situations that have kept Cameroonians in bewilderment. We have the case of the Glencore financial scandals. We have the case of the AFCON gate, the COVID gate, if we should say, but which surprisingly Cameroonians rather saw that persons who were involved in the tax force were rather rewarded and given medals of recognition. Now to you, Sama Abamogwa, what has struck you particularly in the news these days?
What struck me was the fact that Cameroonians seem to be so gullible. We as Cameroonians, we seem to be so gullible and allow ourselves to be carried away by distractions. At a time when it is open secret in the public space that everything is being done to prepare the stage for a father to son succession in this country, Cameroonians still get carried away by phantom motions of support and les appels du peuple, calling for the president who evidently will not stand again, and we get excited and we get carried away that Ndian has called on him to stand again. Meme has also called on him to. The Secretary General for the party was in the Northwest and the West region, and the call was unanimous that he should stand again. When we know, all of us know, and we are just playing the ostrich, we know that it is evident that there is a sinister plan in place to ensure that what happened in Togo, what happened in Chad, what happened in Gabon, what may likely happen in Congo, Brazzaville, and in Equatorial Guinea, what happened in Congo Zaire also happens in Cameroon.
But to think of it,
and coincidentally, sir,
shortly over 1 year,
yes,
in 2025, and because the head of state has maintained his enigmatic silence, and no one can say for sure what is being cooked.
Well, things are no longer the same, and that's why I said I was not struck by what I saw on the news, rather when his son Emmanuel Frank Biya received some subsections at his house to celebrate the father's 41st anniversary, and the speech that he made, the reception speech that he made, and the message, the underlying message that was passed, it speaks volumes. And for those who have been following the trend of things, how he's been conspicuously present in even diplomatic meetings with the father and other dignitaries of the country, even though he does not hold any official post of responsibility within state protocol. He doesn't take a soothsayer or a diviner to tell us what is being cooked. So what caught my attention in the news was the distraction on the papers of how there were national calls for him to stand again, and Cameroonians spend time debating on that when the real action is being undertaken somewhere else.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. That was it, a foretaste and a avant-goût of some of the issues we shall be evoking on today's edition of the program Matters. We're going to take a brief transitional imperative. When we return, we look at what the newspapers are saying before we get into the crux of our debate today. If you're just joining us, it is the program Matters on High Television.